Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty fascinating and, yeah, sometimes controversial framework on attraction. It's all built around 30 core principles, and our job is to unpack the entire worldview behind them. So let's just jump right in with a central idea from the source material. A woman values your consistency more than your intensity. Now, think about that for a second. It's a little counterintuitive, right? And it really sets the stage perfectly for the philosophy we're about to explore. And look, this isn't just some random list of dating tips. The source presents a complete, coherent worldview. So, just to be clear, our goal here isn't to endorse this perspective or say it's right or wrong. We're simply here to break down its structure and its logic for you. All right, so the whole framework is built on these 30 distinct principles. And to make sense of it all, we've gone through and grouped them into 3 major themes that just kept popping up. They really build on one another, as you'll see. Okay, so the first and probably most foundational theme, according to the source, is this idea of putting emotion before logic. This is presented as the absolute bedrock of any and all interaction. This right here, this is principle 1. It's at the very top of the list for a reason. The core argument is that all those nonverbal cues, your energy, your presence, the vibe you give off, that's what gets processed first, way before the literal meaning of your words even has a chance to sink in. And this chart illustrates the idea perfectly. The source really emphasizes that things like your tone of voice, that's principle 6, and creating positive emotional memories, which comes from principle 2, are just so much more impactful than the actual words you're saying. It's all about the feeling that gets left behind. Now, what's really interesting is how this focus on feeling leads directly into the source's next major theme, and that is the power of consistency. This is all about building trust. It's about making someone feel secure. According to Principle 3, attraction isn't some big lightning strike moment. Instead, it builds up through accumulation. The idea is that repeated, reliable actions, showing up time and time again, is what shows genuine intent. And that allows a woman to feel safe, which this framework says is absolutely essential. And to really hammer this point home, the source defines the complete opposite of consistency: love bombing. You've probably heard this term. It's framed here as a massive sign of insecurity. That intense, overwhelming flood of affection right at the start. The source argues that despite how good it might feel initially, that instability ultimately feels like a danger signal and pushes women away. So the crucial takeaway here, the main point, is that this framework consistently, constantly prioritizes stability. It argues that all those small, regular actions and just being a reliable presence, those are the absolute keys to building any kind of real, lasting connection. Okay, this brings us to our third and final theme, which the source presents as the actual engine of desire. The thinking goes like this: if consistency is what builds trust, then polarity is what builds attraction. This brings us to Principle 9. The whole idea is that desire gets activated by difference, not by sameness. The source suggests that men should embody what it calls a calm, directional, masculine energy, which it claims then allows a woman to relax into her feminine energy. And the source puts it very, very simply. 2 similar poles, that's going to generate friendship. But 2 opposite poles, that generates sexual tension. So the core advice here is to stop trying to be just like her and instead embrace that contrast. This whole concept of contrast is absolutely key. According to Principle 13, it's this emotional contrast that makes a man magnetic. Why? Because it creates this really intriguing sense of mystery and unpredictability. But, and this is important, it's all happening inside that stable, consistent frame we talked about earlier. So, when you put all 3 of these themes together, emotion, consistency, and polarity, you can finally start to see the complete worldview that this framework is presenting. It all starts to click into place. So here it is in a nutshell. This is the philosophy. It's a model that says talk to emotions before you talk to logic. Build trust with dependability, not intensity. And create that spark, that desire through complementary opposition. And according to the source, all of this has to be built on a foundation of a man being secure in his own life's purpose, arguing that it's mutual admiration that really sustains desire in the long run. And all of this brings us to one final thought to leave you with. When we unpack a framework like this, it prompts a much bigger question for all of us. How do these kinds of defined roles and communication models, whether we agree with them or not,
how do they end up shaping our own expectations and interactions in relationships today? It's definitely something to think about.